we met at the Choctaw Gathering there, and somewhere around here in Bakersfield area. And his father and mother, just fit in with my family, and we found out that we were his father was born in Podo, and my father was born in Oklahoma also. My mother was born in Arkansas, Hatfield, right there near where the other Simmons was my grandmother's name, and then McCulley, that was the other ones that was from Hatfield that my mother came from, and his family were Fosters, and that's what I am, Foster. And my mother and my dad got married when she was 14, and she had me when she was 16, and it was right there in Pine Valley, Oklahoma, where the Choctaws lived. They had their own store. They had everything the Choctaws did there, and that's where I was born, in a tent 80 years ago, June the 3rd. It makes me laugh every time I think about it because it's funny that I lived this long. My dad's mother, my grandmother, Lily Green, she was 50% Choctaw, so it made my dad a quarter, and then I am an eighth, which is not a whole lot, but I learned a lot from them, because that's all they knew was what they grew up with there in Oklahoma. Well, when I was a kid, we lived in that sawmill right there, and that's where I was born, in the sawmill, in a tent house in 1937, and my first name was Ada, and then Louise and Foster, and that's about, where I began. And then when I was like 5 years old, my dad moved to San Francisco, and that's, then from then on we moved to San Diego, and I lived down there for, I think, 35 or 40 years, hard to remember. I probably had, I counted the jobs because I moved over 30 times in my life, so I had to get new jobs, and then help teach classes and all kinds of stuff too. And art, I took a lot of art classes, and I took like 4 years of art in Southwestern College down there on the border of Mexico. But then I just did a lot of sales work. I've done home nursing, I've done all kinds of different jobs. I was a dispatcher also for the sheriff department in Colorado. At the time, my husband was a town marshal in Walden, Colorado, and I was a dispatcher for the sheriff, for the police, for the highway patrol, for everything in that town. And then I moved to Gridley, California, which is not too far from here, and I bought a gas station and a garage, and became sales. Did a lot of sales work, and I imported from Mexico, and took that all over the country and sold it. And that was one of the best jobs I think I ever created, was selling things from Mexico, because that was very popular in those days. I started with $1,000, and I ended up in 1 year at a side business from my gas station garage and all that, and I sold $29,000 from a $1,000 investment. And I've always done good in sales work and teaching and things like that most people, wouldn't do. I just enjoyed it a lot.
You asked how we met and everything, and she never did really tell you. We met at the Indian Gathering,
Yeah, I did.
in Bakersfield, about 9 years ago. And we talked for a while, and I was alone, and she was with her cousin. And anyway, after a while, I decided, my sister was here also, and my niece. And anyway, I decided it was time for me to go on. I had been roaming around the country in my motorhome all by myself. And I thought to myself, I'm going to get out of here before that woman gets her hooks into me, because we were talking. Anyway, I went back and got in my motorhome and I took off. And I went up into Oregon and Washington and Idaho and all over the place and visited with my brothers and sisters and whatnot. And after about 3 months of roaming around, I came back home over in Nevada, and I checked my messages, and there was a message there from her, because we had exchanged phone numbers. So I called her, and we talked on the phone, and I think that a day or two went by, and I called her again, or she called me, and we talked some more. And I thought, well, it's time for me to go back someplace. So I got back in my motorhome, and I took off after a couple of weeks. Went back up into the Northwest, and I was on my way up there, and we got to talking on the phone again. And about halfway up the highway there, about halfway towards Reno, I told her, I says, I'm coming over there. And so I changed course and went to Chico where she was at. We've been together ever since. Well, I was a kid. I was born in Arizona on the river bank of the Salt River in 1931 in a tent. We used to mow lawns for a dime or a quarter or anything they'd give us. There was no jobs. The Great Depression was in full swing. We picked cotton for a penny a pound. Took you all day long to make $1 if you worked hard.
Yeah.
Somewhere when I was about 16 years old, some of my older brothers and sisters had went on up into Oregon and Washington, and they told us you should come up here because you can make a lot more money than my dad and mom. There was 9 of us in the family. And so when I was about 16 anyway, we went up there starting probably the year before or so, and fruit tramp, went from place to place picking this and working on farms, you know. And anyway, we found out we could make a lot more money up there. So in a year or so, we all moved up there, and I did my later teen years up there. 21 years old, I got a draft notice to go report the Korean War, and I didn't want to be in a foxhole, so I ran down and joined the Navy real quick. And I was in boot camp in San Diego whenever the Army was looking for me. So I notified them where I was at, and okay. I was in the Navy for 4 years, 1951 to 1955. And it was okay. The Navy was a good place to be. You had a dry bed every night and plenty to eat. We saw some action in the Formosa Straits. We took care of seaplanes, and sometimes helicopters, sometimes boats, mostly seaplanes. The USS Pine Island was the name of the ship. It was a big ship, about 600 feet long. It was all right. Anyway, I didn't want to stay in because I had plans to do other things with my life. So when my 4 years was up, I got discharged in Treasure Island, San Francisco, and I went back to my private life, sort of. It was very chaotic for a year and a half or so. I was a boatswain mate, kind of like a do-everything guy. I was on a 5-inch gun on the ship. We had 40s and 20s, and you know, they go boom, 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 boom. Big 5-inch gun that I was on. I was on it for 3.5 years. And anyway, like I say, it was okay. I saw all the Far East, every place in the Far East. You know, we would do Liberty when we could. We were in Hawaii a couple of times, in Japan a couple of times. Went back to Long Beach once, our home port, for repairs. Only there 2 weeks and then right back over. And there's a lot of other stuff that I'm not going to talk about. Well, yeah, but it really wasn't planned that way. It just sort of something that I did. When you come out of the service, it's not easy. And then everything that you had planned before you went in has went up in smoke. It's not easy. And you have to start all over again. And only somebody that's been through that can understand it. Yeah, it's some do it better than others. Some never get over it. Some do right away. Took me a couple of years, maybe a little longer. I finally got it together, and I started some businesses, and I had a business in Las Vegas, Nevada for almost 30 years, and I did well. Do what's right for yourself and other people the best that you can, and your life will be better.